Good evening, Jedi Knights and Sith Lords, and welcome to the Star Wars Artifact Show. Tonight, we discuss Episode 5 of the Andor series, The Axe Forgets. So, before we begin, let me introduce you to my co-host, Eric. How are you doing tonight, my friend?
Doing good. And you?
Doing great. I received a beautiful package this morning. It was the Obi-Wan Kenobi limited edition box set. So obviously, I will make a review on that beautiful box. But yeah, it kind of made my day because I had a really hard time to acquire this box, and finally I was able to get it. So it
I
was an adventure, but I succeeded.
hope you're gonna tell the story with the when we get to see the review of just how difficult it was to actually get.
Yeah, don't worry. It's all going to be in the review for sure.
I can't move on without asking. I just noticed after even after a conversation that you've got
Yeah,
quite the bonsai tree there behind you.
yeah. Well, bonsais are now canon, so
Uh,
I had to put the little background decoration behind me. So I thought it would be a good touch for today's podcast. But I already had that bonsai for quite a few years, and when I saw Deidre's office and Ma's apartment, I was like, okay, well, I guess bonsai is a thing right now. So
nice. Yeah, especially with the whole hype and vibe of Cobra Kai going on these days. I mean,
yeah,
my kid, my wife, I mean everyone, my nephew, everyone watches it, so always fun.
yeah.
So
Let's say
without
hi to everyone in the chat right now. There's James Smart,
James, my
and
dad, and Marie Camille, which I think is, if I'm not wrong, I think that's his wife. So
all right.
we got some
Well,
family members watching, and hopefully some more people jump on.
nice to see you guys tonight.
So episode 5 already.
Yeah,
Yes, quite the
almost
setup.
halfway into the first season.
Yeah. So in this episode, we started. I think with Surreal. Let me just get this going here before I forget. Um, Started with Surreal. Um, Wait a minute. Here we go. He's enjoying the brief seconds of sunlight that he gets from his room. I mean, you can see he's broken up. You can actually see, like, it looks like he's crying at the beginning, and um, you could see from that small apartment he's just not from a rich family, so they don't live in the upper levels of Coruscant, where you would typically get the sunlight that you would see, like, for example, in the Mon Mothma's apartment. Um, then he has to only not only he but we, I guess, have to suffer through his mom's lecturing of um, where he's going in life and whatnot. While she pours him, I took a picture here of that snapshot. It looks like um, a cocoa puff with mold on it.
Yeah,
Um, but she pours him that with the usual, I think it was the blue milk in this scene. So it looked like, mommy pouring him a bowl of cereal there, and giving him the lecture. And then she says, she's going to contact his uncle Harlow to find him a job. We don't know who he is at this point. I mean, I can only assume that he comes up, I think, twice in this one, so we'll find out what's going to happen, I guess, later. But um, try to find him a job and try to set him on a new career path, I guess. But he seems very reluctant. So pass that on to you for the next scene.
yeah. Well, to add on that thing, I think it's the first time that I feel bad for Cyril. I mean, his
Yeah,
mother is a pain
I
to live
guess,
with.
yeah, you could see he's got all these aspirations, and, like, I guess the other side of it is he's got such a depressing home life. You could see,
Yeah,
feels like he's trying to prove his way out. I think he mentions at one point how she never came to visit him, even though he had an extra bedroom. And she
yeah,
makes a comment in moving her hand almost like in a Jedi type way of saying, like an open invitation is not an invitation at all. There's some kind of weird comment like that. So I don't know. They have a weird relationship. So
I think she's just looking for excuses because Ferrix was not maybe chic enough for her. I don't know.
yeah, I don't know.
They
It's
want
still
to
a
get
weird
her
vibe. The
actual
vibe
dirty.
continued from the last episode, right? So
Yeah, for sure. And then, well, we switch to Aldani, where Cassian wakes up and he finds out that all his things are missing. So obviously, he starts panicking. But thankfully, his kyber crystal is still well hidden. So it gives him a little relief. But as soon as he gets out of the little hut he sleeps in, he discovers that Skeen has went through all these things. And he basically tells him that Val asked him to check out everything he had, and then well, they move on with a small talk, and Skeen asks him if he knows what his tattoos mean, and Andor recognizes both tattoos. The first one on his chest is the one from Great Head, which I believe is a prison, an Imperial prison, and the other one is the by the hand tattoo. That one I have absolutely no clue uh, what it means, but to me the most important tattoo is the one on his chest, because as soon as I saw it, it reminded me of the tattoos the Nazis forced the Jews to have on their arms when they were treating them like cattle, basically. So it tells the audience that the Empire is treating their prisoners like either like cattle or like basic merchandise. It's they can be scanned with the barcode, and that's basically it. So
which kind of reminds me of like even the last episode we made reference to that exact kind of like I guess war or like when they were talking about the rebels like they were a disease and how
mhm.
that to exterminate them. A lot of the reference you could see is war related, and you can definitely see that resemblance there.
And then Skeen tells Andor that his sole motivation for this operation is revenge. And we hear for the first time the title of the episode, which is the axe forgets, but he adds, but the tree remembers.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I think it's a very powerful sentence,
yeah.
and it's gonna be a late motive, a theme that's gonna run throughout the episode. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but yeah.
So then we move on to Mon Mothma's residence, and I mean at this point, it seems quite clear we're not going to get to see that dinner party that was referenced in the previous episode, which would have been interesting,
Mhm.
I think, to see, but we didn't get to see that in this. I just skipped it over. It couldn't have been that relevant, I guess. And her and her husband are having breakfast. Perrin mentions her driver, which has arrived, and she kind of reminds him of his name, which is weird. I mean, he can't even be bothered to address him by name, um, whether it be like condescending or just sees the help as like not even existent.
Okay.
He's in a different world. This guy, it's weird. Um, then we meet Lita, their daughter, and she's just as unpleasant as he is. I think it takes about 12 seconds before I realize that this person really bothers me.
Yeah.
Wasn't raised very well. Got a smart ass attitude. It's just like so very I don't know off putting. The one thing I didn't really understand, and maybe you can clarify, is like says we know that you're involved or something like that. She made like one of those comments.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Well, she tells her mother that she wants to look involved. I mean, I think it's in Lida's life,
okay,
as if you only care about your job, you don't care about
yeah,
me, but in public you don't want to look like you're caring.
yeah.
It's typical teenager stuff.
Yeah, I'm wondering where that's going, and if like let's say later when I mean I would assume she's eventually gonna find out about her mom, and if that's going to change for her, right? Like she realizes what she's really been up to and why she's maybe a bit distant and why she's acting that way. So
Yeah,
curious to
I
see
don't
what
think she's
happens.
a lost cause yet.
Yeah,
Perrin is a lost cause, but I don't. I think she's. We can do something with her yet.
yeah.
I'm not giving up on her.
It goes back to like the Obi-Wan episode when um, she like the sister was like she had a nice face to her, and I find that it's almost the same thing with her. She's got like a sympathetic face, and she can be bad and she can also be like good. And
Mhm.
so it's like I find that they carefully cast these people like that where she comes off like aggressive, but she's definitely got the face of a rebel for some reason. I don't know, it's weird. I guess we'll see
Yeah,
what happens.
my feeling is that at one point she'll understand what her mother stands for, and she'll love her for it.
Yeah, she's got a sympathetic face. I mean, I'm telling you, like when I saw her, like at first I'm like, are they trying to like? I was trying to maybe reference someone that would have seen in the movies who maybe she was or whatnot, but I don't
Hmm.
think we've ever really seen in like episode 4, 5, and 6 anyone else in terms of a strong female leader character other than Leia. So
Yeah, but from my standpoint, I'm like, come on, give her a break.
yeah, oh, she doesn't know, right? Like so, it's tough. I guess.
It,
We'll
it
see what
must be
happens.
so rough, at work, trying to look sympathetic to the emperor and the
Yeah,
empire and stuff like that. And at least if she could get a break at home, it would be okay. She can breathe, but no, it's another war
yeah,
practically that she's fighting at home. So she's fighting on two fronts right now. So that sucks.
yeah, yeah. You need to head
And
back to
well,
the camp.
back at camp, yeah, that's it. It feels more and more that we're getting closer to the big day. And well, the trust seemed to be an issue among the team members. So they're gonna have to work on that as the episode and the next one go on. But uh, we witnessed the genius of that guy, Nemec. I mean, how amazing is he? He's unbelievable. I love him. He's
Yeah,
so passionate about everything he says that it's one of my favorite members of that team.
yeah,
And when discussing with Val and Terebin, Andor realizes some important details are missing in Val's plan. So they've been working on that plan for several months, but they still look a little bit like Boy Scouts, in my opinion.
yeah,
So they're gonna have to get their act together pretty quickly if they want to have any chances of surviving this mission.
yeah. I mean, he
And
took the lead, right? Like in that whole
yeah,
situation, he basically said, you know what, like this. He realized how little they knew about it, and at the end, he says, you know what,
yeah. I said, well, I'll be
I'm
piloting.
yeah, I'm not probably. And he says, what is the line? He said, he goes, if it's my ass on the line, then I'm gonna be the pilot. So
But do you think he fully or completely knows how to fly that thing or drive that thing? I'm not sure. I think
well,
he
I
was
think
putting a
he
little icing
I think
on.
he realizes he knows more than they do. So
Yeah.
that's at this point he goes, there's better chances with him behind the wheel than them. So yeah,
Mhm.
I don't blame at all there. So
And during that time, the other member of the team at the Imperial base, Lieutenant Gorn, is making sure that everything will be ready on that side of the mission, and that the Imperial base will be ready for the Eye, which is the event coming pretty soon that we'll see in the next episode. So, uh, well, that's about it for the Imperial front.
okay, and then move on to on back on Ferrex where Blevin and his troops there, the cleaning up of the Corpo's mess. We're acquainted with the Captain Tigo, who, like all Imperials, is usually they're all ambitious. Want to run up the ranks as fast as they can. He wants to be made prefect, but Blevin he doesn't care. He's like, whatever you want. Like couldn't care less. You just get the job done. Basically, is his comment or something at the end there. So um, then after that, shortly after, we see that they're practicing something that they were talking about. Is he gonna be able to march? I think he had asked that in the scene before. Like how well do you know them, and can you walk and march like them? Um, and so they're practicing, and then you see Andor has an observation where he's saying, like maybe Skeen and Tarman should be switching sides, and you know, he's met with some resistance, but in reality, like he's the one that explains, well, if you're left-handed, right-handed, you're shooting from the outside, So again,
Yeah,
we see that Cassian is much more observant and seems to know a bit more than they do when it comes to all this. So it's a bit concerning. And then we get once again a wonderful screech of TIE fighter coming through. I mean, I could watch these scenes. There's been what, two or three so far, and I just absolutely
mhm.
love them. It just flies by over their heads, like just trying to show their intimidation, their power. It's just, I don't know. For me, I'd have that as my screensaver or my ringtone. Just that sound of the Tie Fighter is as like you see them in space and in the battles in the movies. They just seem like minions, right? Just getting destroyed left and right, like pawns in a chess match. But man, on this case, in that scale, I guess when you see the little people on the ground and that thing zipping by, you could it's like those F1 jets or whatever. They're just flying by, blowing the wind out of your hair, screeching. It's just for me, I thought it was incredible. So
It kind of reminded me when in Top Gun when Maverick
yeah,
flies by the tower
that's what I thought.
of the carrier, with
Yeah, they're getting upset.
yeah, they get upset and he spills his coffee and stuff like that. It's
Yeah, well, I gotta also like had a little bit of a flash, and now you gotta wonder if it's inspired by Episode 9 with Kylo's ship. It was the first time we'd kind of seen one of those scenes where it was flying so low.
yeah, close to the ground.
Yeah, yeah, it gave me one of those kind of like memories from that. So
Yeah. And then, well, we go visit the ISB where Deidre continues her investigation, even though she was instructed otherwise by Pentagaz. So, speaking of Pentagaz, imagine if he is Cyril Karn's uncle. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah,
Harlow Pentagaz.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, we never know.
That would be terrible.
Yeah,
We'll find out soon, I guess. And she and her assistant mentioned several systems like Ozion Prime, Kessel, Fondor, and Jakku. Obviously, those some of those we already know, but maybe we're not familiar with all of those planets. So I've prepared a little. I've made some research to be sure that everything is in place. And Ozion Prime is the planet on which the the new, that will become the new capital of the galaxy after the Battle of Jakku, when the Empire is defeated by the rebels. So that's why it might have sound familiar. And it's also the system that is being destroyed when General Hux uses the Starkiller Base, and he sends like 4 or 5 arrays, and they destroy the entire system of planets. So that's why it might have sounded familiar for you guys. Then we have Kessel. Well, I guess we've heard of the spice mines of Kessel. So we've seen them in, I guess it's in the Clone Wars. We've also seen them in the Solo movie.
yep,
They're being operated by the Pikes. And, well, spice is the politically correct name for drugs in Star Wars. So that's pretty interesting. Fondor is a planet that was seen in the Battlefront 2 video game. When you do the campaign mode, they initiate the Operation Cinder, and we see that some systems are being destroyed. And we also see their huge shipyards that they used to build the Star Destroyer. Darth Vader's executor was built at Fondor, so that's a nice.
great. Now you're gonna make me want to play that game
Yeah,
again just to go back and see that. So
yeah. And Jakku, well, I mentioned it a little earlier. It was the scene of the final battle between the Empire and the Rebellion. And it was also the planet where Rey grew up. So that was fun to hear the name of those systems.
I find that the more and more, especially in this series, there's a lot of name dropping, a lot of
Hmm.
mending together and validating other movies and shows or whatnot. I find like they're really putting everything together with those all those references and
Yeah,
giving more and more context. And so, for anyone who's so upset about the sequels and wants to get a reboot or whatnot, well, it looks like that's not the direction they're taking at all. Because if anything, they continue to validate all the new stuff.
yeah.
Um, so after that, back to Aldani, where the team's burning the maquette that to erase basically any traces of their plan.
Hmm.
They toasted the rebellion, and the next morning they leave camp. I had such a flashback. I don't know if it's Lord of the Rings or something, but like that scene when they're walking all together. It looks like they're really on that mission, the
True.
fellowship. I don't know what you thought, but as soon as
Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
that,
It's so
I
true.
got
Yeah.
that vision. That's why I put that screenshot there. Um, so on their way, Cassian asks Vel like why Lieutenant Gorn is willing to turn his back against the Empire, and she says that Gorn fell in love with a local woman and lost a promotion, and then he lost the woman and his taste for the Empire. So again, back to that famous line. I guess the theme is wasn't said, but comes to mind is the axe forgets, but the tree remembers. And for some reason, I was kind of wondering if maybe Vel was the girl. Who knows if she's? I don't
Ah,
think that she necessarily died, but like maybe that's something happened, right? And
yeah. Well, I think the girl in question was a native of Aldani.
oh, okay. I don't know.
That's the vibe I
Yeah,
got.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just I don't know. I just couldn't really tell if she was being elusive or anything like that, but I'm sure that they'll close that gap or show us what's going on.
Because we found out that Vel, well, technically Cinta, was sharing a blanket with somebody else, and we immediately saw Cinta with Vel. So
Yeah.
I got the feeling that they're together. So
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Wouldn't be surprised. I mean that's I guess where we're headed, right? Like this is where we want to show inclusivity and all that stuff.
yeah.
So very possible. I saw that, but I didn't make that connection. I think you're probably 100% right on that one. Um, then we go back to the Imperial base, and Gorn pretends to be angry with that the gantry hasn't been painted yet. His men beg him to be allowed to see the eye scheduled to happen the next day. It seems to be a pretty big event. I'm curious to see what this is going to look like, and I hope that they show us something.
Hmm.
Would only assume so. Is it supposed to be happening during the mission? Um, and then assuring Gorn that it would be completed the following day, and we see the Imperial Payroll for the first time, um, which was quite impressive actually. Uh, I'm really curious to see how this is all gonna go down in the next episode.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's we're getting close to it, and uh, we can feel the tension building up for sure.
Yep.
Look at that. That's a lot of merchandise to carry in that big truck we saw. So,
Yeah.
and then one of my favorite scenes, I can leave it on. Uh, it's when Skeen discovers Andor's kyber crystal, and he asks for answers. That's I think it's my favorite scene of the episode because since the beginning of the show, Andor is lying to everyone, and now he has no choice but to tell the truth because he got caught. That's the only reason he tells the truth. He gets caught, and then, well, he says, "Well, I'm being paid for the mission," and we saw him. asking B2 to lie twice for him. He lied to about everybody on Ferrix, and then he and his mother were wondering how many lies they told when their identity was discovered, and he lied to those team members. And now, well, it's time to be honest and finally earn their trust. So
You could even move as far as Rogue One when he lied to Jin, right? Like it's the whole time. Remember, like he was actually out to take out her dad, and
yeah,
so it's like this guy is he's got a bit of a pattern. But I mean, in this, I feel bad for him. I mean, it was Luthen that basically told him to shut up about all this, right, and just go along.
yeah,
And then um, he just went along with the story, and she had told him not even to say anything about Luthen. So it's like it's. I feel like he's being put in these bad situations, but at least he did come clean, right? So
mhm.
I put a slide in here, um, and I think we can go back to it. But I have the slide here with that transport. Did that say anything to you when you saw that? Do you think because I felt like they put that scene in there for a reason, right? So um,
Yeah. You mean the one with Karen, right? Oh no, okay,
no, 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 no.
okay, the Tiberium shuttle.
Yeah,
Well, to me, it's the inspector from Coruscant. They mentioned that was coming
yeah.
for the next day. So I expect him to be a high-ranking officer that's going to make sure that everything is going as it should on that base. And well, some people are going to look like fools in front of him because we obviously can imagine that they're going to succeed the mission. So
I was just wondering, is there
really
like any
interesting to see.
actor, anyone that we haven't seen yet show up in the series?
I think it will be, yeah. I
Yeah.
think it's going to be a brand new character
Okay.
because there's a few
I was trying to remember the
officers
trailer.
we saw in the trailer, yeah,
Yeah.
that we have not seen yet. So
Yeah. Okay. So I guess we'll like sit in the next episode. We'll probably
yeah,
be
we'll find that
introduced to
out
them.
next Wednesday. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, right before the next scene though that we saw that we'll talk about was this, and I put it in here, and it was Karn that was we went back to him in his room moping after
Mhm.
a second conversation that I guess we didn't really speak about, but he had another conversation with his mom as she was talking on the phone, and it's funny. He's got that mom son vibe where he's talking about like I heard you talking on the phone. I only heard what you said, obviously, like but he heard like her conversation with Harlow and all this, and he says, "Oh, he hasn't really decided. He's thinking about what would best fit you and all this stuff." So it's just weird again, like that vibe. I can't even emphasize about how much like that. It just feels like we've all been in that kind of situation before. And then it ends. I guess you see him looking at that hologram of or I'm probably not using the right term there for that, but like of Cassian, and you can see like this is not over. He's got a grudge to and holding a grudge with Cassian. So
Clearly, he blames Cashin for all the bad stuff that happened to him. So
or he sees it as if he can actually get him, then he can probably redeem himself and get back on to his career path that he originally
yeah,
wanted, right? So it's the key
yeah,
for him. So
he obviously hasn't moved on for sure.
yeah,
And then, well, the team has finished their long walk toward the Imperial base, and next to their little campfire, they have a discussion, and Skeen and Andor kind of make peace.
yeah.
I say kind of because I guess they'll never be BFFs, but at least they can stand each other. And he tells Andor the real reason he hates the Empire, which is that he had a brother who had a pepper tree farm, and then the Empire walked in and they confiscated everything, and his brother felt, uh, like a victim. He couldn't stand it, and he put rocks in his jacket and jumped at the bottom of a lake. So, uh, you know, obviously committed suicide. So that's the reason he hates so much the Empire. And then it shows that the theme of the episode is still, very very actual with the X forgets and the tree remembers, because I'm sure that from the Empire standpoint, that little incident, it's not even in the books. They forgot about it. It's a typical day for the Empire,
Yeah.
but for him, it's gonna be a scar that's gonna stay for the rest of his life. So that's a pretty deep cut for Skeen, and he's gonna have to learn how to move on if he survives this mission.
So before moving to the last scene, there's actually a comment. It's in the chat says good move on his part, making it look like the event is the cause of reduced security for payroll. So I
Yeah,
guess yeah,
true.
I didn't think about that at all, but that is definitely a good good observation. And because he
Yeah,
does
because
right when he talks to him, he turns around, he's got a little bit of a smirk on his face, right? Like he's like going according to plan, right? So
yeah, for sure. And apparently there's nothing much to do on that planet or at that
yeah.
base, so they don't want to miss the eye. But
Yeah. So they're all going to be there observing that, and then he can always say, well, I mean, I guess he would be in charge of it, right? But like, there's an excuse as to why, they were all over there, and it's not as so much his involvement, I guess, is basically cleared. But I don't
yeah.
know. I guess we'll go on to, we said we'd discuss something a little bit later
Hmm.
before, so I guess we'll get head to that after. So you want to finish the last scene, I think, of the episode.
Yeah, so well, the episode ends up with Luton and his assistant at the antique store, and for the first time, we see him like he's worried.
He's
He's
checking
afraid
in, right? Like
the
on like
mission
the comm or
won't work.
whatever, and
Yeah,
yeah, it's weird.
he's making sure that you'll be able to receive communication if there's a problem popping up or something like that. So it's the first time he's not in control.
Yeah,
No, it's in the hands of the team. He can't do anything more, and even his assistant tells him, there's nothing left you can do. It's they're part of the mission. So
he's even doubting Cassian, right? Like he makes a comment like his, kind of like he maybe made a mistake. So it's
yeah,
just I don't know. Like you said, it's weird to see him kind of shaken up like that. But I mean, obviously it's a big deal. It's going to be a big mission, so we'll see how it rolls out. But Um, so I put this slide here. You specifically wanted to show this again. I think we had
mhm.
seen it in the previous.
Yeah. Well, the main reason is that we see a lot more clearly the two holocrons.
Yeah.
So the Sith, the pyramid, the Sith holocron, and the Jedi holocron. But there's also another Easter egg. I don't know if you've seen it. I'll give you I'll give you a few seconds to
I
see if you
don't
can
know.
notice it.
The show's called Star Wars Artifact, and because definitely a lot of it. Besides the bottle of Windexes on the top there, I mean, I'm not. As soon as you point it out, I'll be like, oh, great, yeah. But
Okay, so look to the right of the Sith holocrons.
yeah,
There's like two brown things.
yeah.
Those are the Sankara stones that we've seen in the Indiana Jones Temple of Doom movie.
Oh, jeez.
So
Yeah, I didn't have
since
mine.
in the first Indiana Jones movie, there's been some Easter eggs of
Was it
Star Wars.
C3PO and R2 or something? You see the
Yeah,
droid
in
somewhere? Yeah,
where they get the arc
yeah.
in the room where they get the arc, and then there's another scene in another movie that we see an Easter egg, a Star Wars Easter egg, but that one
Well,
is
you have
it
ET
was
and you got
so
Yoda in
obvious.
there and stuff, so it's and you got
Yeah,
basically all of his figurines as well. So
so those are
uh,
the two of the Sankara stones we saw in the Temple of Doom. So
well, then
I thought it was a real fun Easter egg.
speaking of Easter eggs, though, we can.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, actually, real quick, like overall impression of the episode. What was?
Yeah. Well, I liked it because now the table is set. We're ready for the heist, and next episode will be pretty action packed, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be
So
the highlight of this season. I mean, I after this, I mean, I don't know what they've got planned afterwards. Obviously, they're gonna have a big
Mhm.
finish to the season, but this is kind of like the mid-season peak is going to be incredible. Like what's been the
Yeah.
build up, and if it's anything like the build up from the first two episodes to the third, like I think this will be quite incredible. I hope it's a little bit longer. I hope we get a little bit longer episode.
It'd be fun, yeah.
Yeah,
A 50, 55 minutes
yeah.
episode
I
would be
know I
cool.
can definitely take an extra 10 minutes, but like it's going to be interesting, and I hope it's like right off the bat, like no wasting time. And they did kind of leave it right at the night, right? Like so.
Yeah.
But that event that's supposed to happen, is that supposed to happen the following evening, or it's like I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it's the day of the ice,
Yeah,
the next day. So
yeah.
it's
So
gonna be next episode, and I think we've seen uh, some moments of the event in one of the trailers. We
yeah,
see Andor flying a ship, and there's like fire everywhere, and I think it's the meteorites.
I'm not
Who,
even gonna go watch. I want to go in fresh. I'm waiting for
yeah,
Stormtroopers, like I said in the last chat that we had there. Like, but I have a feeling
mhm,
now we're gonna start seeing the more iconic Star Wars stuff coming up. So
yeah.
but then, yeah, I mean, for me, it's the
Well,
same thing. I think that I'm just as excited to see like, what's going to happen with the I guess the end of this story arc and where we're going to head after that. But yeah, next week's going to be epic.
and what about the team? Who do you think will survive?
I'm going to guess that Gorn will not.
Mm-hmm.
Um, hmm. I think it's pretty early to start killing people off. I think Gorn could be disposable because I don't see what he can bring to further episodes. Like now he's led
Okay.
them to the success of this mission, and then I don't want to say he's disposable, but like is I don't know what further he's going to do if he's figured out, and like I don't know, I don't see him hanging around. And if I were to pick one more person, um, I don't know, can we see Skeen kind of like sacrifice himself? You know, like we typically see, like
Mm-hmm.
you're reluctant and you didn't trust this person, but then you end up sacrificing your life for them to show like the actual like the true gesture of trust, I guess, and passing the torch on to him. I think that's about it. I don't think they're gonna kill either of the girls. I think they're gonna play on that story that you alluded to earlier,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's too easy to kill the other guy, the genius. I forget his name there. So, but what's the other the tall black?
There's Theremin.
Yeah, uh, I don't know.
I think only three will survive. I think uh, Nemec will survive, but that one is 50-50 for me. Uh, and then because they've built so much on that character, it's obvious that they want us to love that guy, and I guess we do, and that's why I could see him die because we love him so much, and it's gonna be even more painful if he does.
I get flashes of Mouse from the
Yeah, the
Matrix. Well,
Matrix.
yeah,
Yeah,
when I see this guy, so I'm like, if I think that, then he's gonna die, right? Because that's what happened, right? He
yeah,
comes up and has some kind of like something that sends him to success, and ends up being the true hero, and then dies, right? I mean, that's not uncommon, and the fact that we obviously don't see any of these guys in the movies, then man, they could probably wipe them all out, right? At this point, so it's
yeah. And at some point, skiing gave me flashes of Cipher in the Matrix as well.
yeah,
The kind of
backstabbing,
traitor, yeah,
yeah.
backstabbing guy.
Well,
And
now we found out his story, though. I was thinking that maybe he'd end up doing that, but now that we know his story, I don't think that that's going to happen anymore. So
even if we go back to episode 2 when Gluten gives Andor the choice to being dropped and or continue with him and make a point standing up against the Empire. It's like the blue pill and the red pill.
yeah,
It's another comparison we can do. So
yeah, true.
let's
So
say, yeah, I think so. Vel for me survives. Um, Nemec and Tamarin. Theremin.
We have a prediction on the chat saying like all love stories, one of the girls will disappear.
Yeah.
The young guy will go. Yeah, so he thinks he's probably going to follow the same fate as Mouse, I guess, in the Matrix.
Mm-hmm.
And just because he is, like you said, so likable, so
Maybe it's even gonna be his king who kills him. Imagine.
yeah, like the threat.
That would be
Oh, you
terrible.
know what? You can come full circle to that scene where he says, if you're not careful, and that's
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised. That was in the
Yeah.
previous episode when he goes, if you're not careful. Oh no, not the one before that. He goes, if you're not careful, then if you take your eye off the ball or whatever the
Mm-hmm.
comment he makes, because he had fallen asleep right when he was taking watch. So yeah, who knows?
Yeah. I can even see him giving his little booklet to Andor.
Or you know what? Uh, Here's a prediction, because you know how he fell asleep keeping watch or whatever, or not paying
Mm-hmm.
attention. Maybe we'll see Karn show up and take him hostage and take the information from him. So
Whoa.
so he'll be on the watch. Or like I don't think he's the kind of person that gets his hand dirty in the mission, right? Like so I don't think he's going to be there.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to be set aside and he'll probably get captured. That's going to be my prediction. That's what I'm going with.
Okay. Well, imagine if Nemec ends up dying and he gives the book to Andor, who then hands it out to Mon Mothma, and she use it to create the basis of the Rebel Alliance. It will be
Yeah. I mean,
you
they
know
need another story arc, I guess, before it's got 6 more episodes to go. So I mean, another 3, maybe it'll be a rescue mission to get him, or who knows. So I mean, there's endless
well,
possibilities. But
I think that we're gonna go back to Ferrix for the next arc, where the Empire is gonna try to settle in, and
yeah, well, we saw
the
that
different
shot I put of the hotel,
manifestation.
right? He said to install his
Yeah,
base there. So all right, well, let's go on to the kind of
Easter eggs,
reference.
right?
Yeah, we caught a couple things.
Mm-hmm.
What did you see this time?
Okay, well, Nemec's navigation system.
Oh, okay. I had the those
Okay, the fruits first. Okay,
yeah, do
let's
the
go with the fruit
fruits.
first. Yeah. Well, the brown one with the little spikes, they're called Meilurans, and we've seen those fruits in one episode of the Rebel animated series. It was season 1, episode 4, and Era Syndulla asks uh, Ezra and Zeb to pick up some Meilurans for her while doing other errands. So that was one of the more subtle Easter egg I noticed.
They don't look as delicious though in the Andor series. They look like almost like they've been
True.
fried or something. So
Yeah. Maybe they're like more dry. I don't know.
yeah,
Which is next? The navigation
yeah.
system. All right. Well, that that prop was made from a Polaroid, a good old Polaroid. So I thought it was pretty interesting to see. It's a I thought it looked familiar, but I think you noticed it, right? When
Yeah,
you saw
as soon as I saw it, it looked to me like it was that. I mean, obviously heavily modified,
it. Hmm.
um, but it definitely, especially the way it opened, we didn't have that accordion kind of thing on the side looking,
Yeah.
and obviously no lens, but you didn't really see it. I went back when I took the shot and tried to see if I can and spot it, but obviously it's been heavily modified. For me, the thing that stuck out with this is, when he's talking about that and his saying that it's old school, and Cashin was saying it's more complicated, I think, to work, but he said it's just basically that the Empire can't track them, and
Yeah.
the reference I personally got from it, and me might be reading too much into it, is that think about the old Polaroids and what we use today, right? We're all using our phones and talking about our pictures are on the clouds and all this stuff, and
Yeah.
everyone always talks about someone's and you've done it, and you've had a conversation with someone, and next thing you know, you go on your Facebook and there's an ad for exactly what you were talking about. You didn't
Mhm.
put that in there or whatever, but like it's so I always think that Big Brother's watching, and in this case it's like kind of referral like of an old camera. Well, it's safer. It's not being tracked. And then the new stuff, well, you never know who's kind of looking at it, and made me think of exactly that. So,
Yeah.
but I don't know if
So true.
I don't know, I'm curious to see what's going to happen. I mean, obviously, this is going to be brought into use somehow, I guess, or later. But
Yeah, maybe they're gonna use it in with their escape vehicle. I
yeah.
don't know.
So the last one,
Yeah, that was the CPH Patrol speeder bike we saw on Ferrix. When what's his name, Blevin, was setting up the new Imperial post on Ferrix. And well, I immediately remembered seeing that kind of speeder bike in the Solo movie. So that's the same kind of speeder bike that was used when they were chasing Han Solo and Kira when they were trying to escape Corellia.
and that was like
So
that stormtrooper was. It's I know it's considered part of the Pathfinders, like a scout trooper, basically.
the one in the Solo movie was a patrol trooper.
Yeah, patrol trooper. Yeah, so
Yeah, and the one on in Andor, I don't know the official name yet. So I guess it's gonna be a riot control trooper or something like that.
yeah,
It's,
it'd be around the same time. I mean, it makes sense that the vehicle. I mean, the same time. I guess the same
yeah.
era. I guess right. So,
Mhm.
but yeah,
And
that was a
it
good
doesn't
catch.
have to be like
You s-
heavy armed vehicles, because there's no insurrection yet. So those are Imperial controlled systems. So they don't need the typical ATSTs or the AT-AT yet. It's not a war zone yet. So
so glad you called it an AT-AT.
yeah.
Anyway, I'm not gonna start on that, but like, anyway, we'll never know, and I think it's purposely held, the withheld information. But I'll always say, well, if it's an at, what do you call an ATST then? Like the,
Yeah.
an ATST, like it's just doesn't make any sense to me. But whatever, I've always called it ATAT, and that's what I'm sticking to.
We're seeing SUV. We're not seeing subs.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, it is what it is. Call it what you want. I've seen T-shirts like I remember at HMV stuff said "Where's the party at?" and they had like that ATAT on it, and I'm just like, come on, like so. But I don't know. I've seen videos trying to disprove both ones, both theories and names, but anyway, we can save that discussion for another day and see what other people
Yeah.
what they choose to call it. So
Hey, discuss this is saying hi to you and I. So thanks for joining us. Discuss this. Did you enjoy the show? Just tell us in the chat.
just sending us a nice dab there, and I can't believe I know that. But that's what it is when you have young kids. So,
Yeah.
so other than that,
Yeah. Well, speaking of super chat, discuss this. You remind me of something very important because I cannot receive super chats yet because we do not have reached the 1,000 subscriber plateau. So we are currently at 909 subscribers. If you guys are watching this either live or later on this week or this month, we're currently in the hunt, in the quest to reach the 1,000 subscriber plateau or mark. So take a few seconds, like this video, subscribe to the channel. It's gonna go long ways in helping me keeping this channel alive. Uh, you know, uh, I've been doing this for about 2 years now. Paid for all the merch I've reviewed. No gifts, no no collaboration with any companies. It's all my personal collection. So if one day I can earn a little money with that channel, it would be amazing, and everybody would be winners because I'm gonna be able to purchase even more stuff. So more reviews and more goodies for you guys as well. So that was my little
so excuse me. Super chat. You're gonna have to explain to me what that is, because
Yeah, well, basically, it's a way for viewers to make a donation,
oh,
and while maybe asking a question to us guys.
okay.
So it could be $1, it could be $10, or how much you want. So it's pretty cool.
I mean we had even discussed I think before, like, we're doing this as a hobby for fun,
Hmm.
and we're anything I think that we discussed would just go right back into this project, whether it be like you said for more stuff for you to review or to add to your collection or whatnot. Like it's
Yeah,
just to add content, right? So
and to improve the production of the show, get graphic designers. We already have somebody who's volunteering her work for free for our thumbnails. So huge shout out to her, by the way. And it's only gonna help us making everything look better and more interesting for you guys. So
speaking of merch, I have one last picture here, and I have to show it because I don't really collect anything I think anymore in terms of my. I mean, obviously, I have my two armors from the 501st, which cost me enough money, and I have a few hot toys of the troopers that I have. So Scout Trooper from Mandalorian and the regular Stormtrooper. I have a couple little helmets here and there, nowhere near what you have back there. But like the only thing I've been consistently following, I guess, because I was there from the start, is the retro line. Um, I have a little weakness, I guess, for the figurines of the nostalgia. I think that they're milking it a bit too much. I'm not crazy about the fact that they're going into the new series. I like the fact that I was able to finally get a Boba Fett that just was so elusive to me when I was a kid. I could never get my hands on it. My
mhm.
parents tried, to get the find it for me, and I had a ton of other figurines, but that's the one I just absolutely could not find. So I was able to get it in a box, and yeah, it's not the same, but the weathering on the box, the packaging looks amazing. So I was able to get it from our good friend Steve from Kaya Boutique in Quebec. So I think I bought
Yeah,
the last 3 or 4 sets from him directly. I see them pop up in Toys R Us, but I don't trust the packaging, or there's always one missing or whatnot. But um, absolutely love this series. So it's probably a bit late in the game to start collecting it. The first ones are probably, I'm not sure if they've gone up in value, but for me, it's just I have the whole series so far. I'm waiting for these two bounty hunters, I think, right now that are
nice.
on Amazon. I think it's Bosk and I forget who else. And they just, um, I don't know if I'll ever get those shipped. And there's even some that came in board games. I'm trying my best to get them all, but it's definitely a cool line. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool that they're continuing, but I don't know how far I'm going to go with these, to be honest with you, because I wish they would have just continued. They never even made the Return of the Jedi series, so.
And speaking of Steve Godowy from Kayabusik, he's going to send me the Lola animatronic droid pretty soon. So
That the one
expect
that's a
a full
Walmart,
review.
or
It's gonna be on Amazon for sure, but I don't know if it's gonna be on Walmart. Probably it's gonna be
I've seen
at
one at
Walmart.
Walmart. I just don't know what
But
edition, or if it's like
there
a.
are two or three different variation
Okay.
of that one. So I, I I'm gonna get the big one. The cost it costs about $100. So
So
uh, that's gonna be it. And I just want to go back to the chat
yeah, that's
for a
it.
few seconds because Guillaume Ludo is here saying hello, guys, and discuss this. Is talking to us about episode 5. He said it was a bit slow for his pace, and that he liked the editing. He loved the dialogues, and he suspects that's going to be for a bigger role. And I totally agree with you. Discuss this. But and I also agree that Andor story pace is necessary because uh, it's going to be a key element to the storytelling. I think so.
Yeah, we discussed I think in the previous episodes, and like it is slower paced. They have the episode count to take their time as well.
Mhm.
It doesn't feel like there's filler episodes. They really feel like they're developing something. And like like I
Sure.
said, if I said earlier, if it's anything like the first 3 episodes where slow build to a great ending, I'll take that. And I think that again, that next episode, episode 6, is truly going to be like the centerpiece. No pun intended, because it's the middle episode, but it'll definitely be
Yeah,
like the big chunk that we're gonna see, like, and all the highlights, and I can't even imagine what we're gonna have to talk about next week. So
and I think it's gonna make binge watching that show even more interesting.
yeah, there's
You
no
know,
way I could ever hold back and wait. Obviously, I mean, we're doing
I know
this,
for
but like,
sure.
there's no way I can ever hold back and binge. And I know I told some people where I work, and they're asking about the episode, and I said, listen, I mean, if you haven't seen the first few episodes, um, then just wait.
Hmm.
Watch the first three, and then if you can, like, watch the next three. Like, if you're not really like steadily watching it, just it'll be worth it. Um, and it'll be, like you said, one big punch in the face at once, rather than just. It's just there's so much behind it, and like you said, even having these chats with you, and then finding all the Easter eggs, it's made it so much more interesting. So
Yeah, and it's going back to the old ways. Uh, let's go back 10 years ago. Binge watching was not even a thing.
yeah,
We were watching Breaking Bad every episode one at a time, and sometimes we were left, with our appetite. Same thing for The Walking Dead. It's one way of doing things, and it's not a story of the day kind of show. So, no disrespect for The Mandalorian or stuff like that. I enjoy watching those shows as well. But
but
yeah,
Mandalorian is more like, each episode had its own little story, right? It felt like it was a chapter, um, rather than, there was nothing really developing the way that this is.
mhm,
And we have Guillaume that says he believes that the format is the problem with Andor,
mhm.
and it should have been a movie instead of a TV show. But and
Or three movies
yeah,
or four movies, I
well,
guess.
that's the problem with like, they set up that Solo, and I would think Solo should have been a series, and we could have, grown with the
Yeah.
Darth Maul, and then maybe Book of Boba Fett could have been a movie. But you know what? With the focus that they actually gave Boba Fett, it could have been a movie, because I mean, half the season ended up being Mandalorian anyway, right?
Yeah.
So it's give or take. I guess they're still experimenting, and figuring out what the right formula is, and testing the fans, and seeing, well, what do they like. Are they? But obviously, Solo was left a sour taste in people's mouths. Although there was a lot of cancellations as a result of it. Obi-Wan ended up
Mhm.
being a series instead of a movie, and I'll take 6 episodes of Obi-Wan instead of a 90-minute movie any day, right? So in this
Yeah.
case, I'm happy with this format. But yeah, I understand where he's coming from. So
And going back to Solo, I think that it could be a way to continue telling the story of Solo and Kira, because
yeah, no,
in the comics we were told about what's going on with Kira, but the story happens between the Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. So there's like a huge hole between the Solo movie and the comics that have yet to be explored.
yeah.
So I guess it could be very interesting to see that. And I absolutely need to point out a chat from Discuss This 21 who says, I respect you guys, Lord Doom and Smart B. Keep your channel growing. I will definitely keep watching you guys. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much.
To discuss this. That's how I pay for now. So we're having fun doing this, and we're glad that you're enjoying the show as well.
All right, well, it looks like we're getting close to the end.
Hmm.
So I don't know if there's anything you want to add. I mean, I'm super stoked for the next episode of Andor. I think this is going to be, like I said, the best episode yet. Maybe I'm hyping it up too much for myself and setting myself up for disappointment, but I don't think that that's possible. So
Well, you had a note about the music from episode the first arc.
yeah, I guess we'll see. I mean, the first episode 1 to 3, there was a different music. I've referred to the music, I guess, in this series for a while. I think it's been
Mhm.
very unique. You can tell when the end of the episodes coming by the build up, the change of scenes back and forth. It's always like such great build up, and you know that unfortunately it's kind of like bittersweet because you know that the episode's ending, but it gets you so pumped for the next one, and I can't even fathom what we're going to see in the next episode. So I mean,
Yeah.
obviously it was different in the first 3 episodes, and then the last two I noticed it's been a little bit more intense. I don't know if we're gonna get something different for the next story arc, but um, totally digging the music right now. So
Yeah. And tomorrow's video will be about the TX 225 occupier tank. I thought it would be a good idea to revisit a little bit that vehicle because I wouldn't be surprised if we'd see some of them during the insurrection on Ferrix, or maybe later on in the series. So if you guys want to learn more about that vehicle, check tomorrow's video, and hopefully you'll learn a thing or two about that. So well, I guess that's it for tonight, guys. I'm Dominic. He's Eric. Thank you for watching the Star Wars Artifact Show, and we'll see you next week covering episode 6 of the Andor series.
all right, thanks, bye guys.